It's not President Trump's fault. The truth here, it's not President Trump's fault that you weren't paying attention. So let's go, by the way, through some of the claims and truths out there, because there is propaganda on all sides. It's time for Clean Truth. Here are some of the primary claims that are being made out there. Check the references, links in the description. By the way, we're live 11 a.m. weekdays, period, if you're watching the clip. First claim. Sorry, Toolman, I know I had a bunch of low thirds for you. Here's a claim that I see out there. Only the Jews, and I want to be clear, not just the Jews have an interest, only the Jews have an interest in castrating or overthrowing the Iranian regime. Only the Jews. That's the claim.
I don't think we should be fighting wars on behalf of Israel, and many Americans agree with that.
No one should have to die for a foreign country. I don't think those 4 service members died for the United States. I think they died for Iran or for Israel. And this feels very much, to me, like it is clearly Israel's war.
There are a bunch of people in the U.S. government who do not put the United States before the interests of Israel, period.
Welcome back, thinkers. This is Peacemaker. We've got Steven Crowder absolutely demolishing Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson on this fake narrative that Trump betrayed his MAGA base by hitting Iran. These guys, including Megyn Kelly and Marjorie Taylor Greene, have been pushing the same anti-interventionist talking points for months. They've been saying this is Israel's war, Trump's the traitor, the soldiers died for Israel. To me, that sounds so rude. They all sound so orchestrated. And Crowder is shutting it all down with receipts going back 45 years. Let's keep watching.
Okay. And then I want to get to you in this, but here's the truth, okay? Of course Israel has an interest in that. But many other parties have a vested interest here, including the United States, which is paramount. But all of the Iranian people around the world, when you see these, diaspora, and pick a country, are they paid by the Jews? The G7 nations. It's a joint statement reaffirming that Iran can never have nukes. Other nations, and Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq, and even Jordan.
I'm not saying he wasn't a threat, but me being compared to him, I took offense to that.
I would too.
And one of the primary benefactors, you could say here, is definitely the United States. Iran has had a problem with the United States going back, as long as we can remember, but certainly starting 79, where they declared war, and they've redeclared war against the United States, killed thousands of service members in many of our bases with no intention to stop. So yes, Israel does. The myth here, the claim that is false, is that only the Jews would have an interest. Now, you may not say that these interests warrant the action, but to say that there aren't other interests outside of Israel is disingenuous, in my opinion. And you
right.
also on Megyn Kelly.
Yeah, right. What if, even if it's not just Israel's interest, but even if it was saying that these American soldiers are dying for Israel, you don't get to say that. You do get to have an opinion,
of course,
sure. But you don't get to decide what these soldiers are dying for. Only the person who raises their right hand has the ability to decide what they're dying for. They die with that flag on their shoulder. They're going to have a flag in their casket. They didn't die for Israel. They died in service to their country. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
Don't use soldiers. Stop using soldiers for your agenda. Stop using soldiers to push your slant.
Yeah.
It's a terrible look, and it's.
Well, that's the thing too. A lot of people use the word never-ending wars. That's a new term. Okay, I understand the concept of it, and I'm against that. But if you could poll the military, guarantee you would see overwhelming support because they've known and had to deal with Iran for a very long time.
We'll see with recruiting numbers here in the next quarter.
Yep.
It'll be a great indication of how people feel.
Yeah, we'll see if recruitment numbers go up in dealing with the Ayatollah, with the camping out at respawn kill, or if it did better with 2 mommies in transition surgery and stretchy maternity suits for female pilots. We'll see which one appeals to those who you want in the military. Next claim.
And like me, you've probably been hearing nonstop from Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson that this is Israel's war and that Trump's lost his control and that he's being handled by Israel. Now, Crowder just made a simple and complete point for us. Many other nations, including in the West and in the Middle East, have vested interest in this war. So it's not just for Israel, it is a global position. Now, on the American soldiers, it's very true that nobody gets to decide and proclaim what an American soldier died for, except for the soldier who died. So let's keep going.
That I see made out there is that President Trump betrayed his base. Traitor.
I think the president has gotten very important.
Traitor. President Trump is a traitor and is doing this solely at the direction of the Jews like Adelson. This is everywhere.
I think the president has gotten very poor counsel, and I do think it matters politically that he was the No More Endless Wars candidate in 2016 and 2024 particularly, and this looks like an open betrayal of the base.
And even right now, Donald Trump barely has majority support of his own base. And think about it, last I saw it was something like 55% of Trump voters said like, okay, we'll support the president so far.
The most important definition, Chris, is that America First, which is what he ran on, which is the Trump brand, equals zero wars. That's how voters understood it.
Well, look, if we actually had an America First foreign policy, which means not in the hands of Miriam Adelson and the Zionist lobby, if we actually had that, Netanyahu couldn't do anything about it because Israel, with its 8 to 10 million people, cannot fight Iran with its 100 million people.
Okay, and here's the truth. I would be upset if I thought that that was the only reason President Trump is targeting Iran as well. If I believed that he had done a 180, I go, well, yeah, okay, that is a betrayal. By the way, when he says no new wars, he's not a warmonger president. Peace through strength. Remember Venezuela? I will tell you this before I get to the truth. If this is what it looks like, not everything is comparable to Iraq. If it looks like Venezuela, if it looks like the Iranian enrichment facilities, if it looks like the first day or two that we saw with Ayatollah through rank 75 can be taken out in swift order, it's one of those areas where I'm going to trust the president's judgment because I think there are a lot of people, a lot of bad actors around the world going, you can just do stuff?
Yeah, I think it's great for other world leaders to look at this and remember that it could be you at any time.
Right. But this idea that he betrayed his base, it's not President Trump's fault. The truth here, it's not President Trump's fault that you weren't paying attention. The truth, did we already hit the truth?
I'll hit it again.
Yeah. The truth is he's been clear on Iran since the Iranian Revolution. I've shown you clips from, I believe, 2015. I've shown you tweets from 2011. Here's one from 1980, where before President Trump knew that he would ever run for the presidency, he was expressing the idea of America first and how Iran needs to be turned into an example for the sake of America. You may not agree, but you can't say that he's changed his mind.
When you get the respect of the other countries, then the other countries tend to do a little bit as you do, and you can create the right attitudes. The Iranian situation is a case in point. That they hold our hostages is just absolutely and totally ridiculous. That this country sits back and allows a country such as Iran to hold our hostages, to my way of thinking, is a horror. And I don't think they'd do it with other countries. I honestly don't think they'd do it with other countries.
Obviously, you're advocating that we should have gone in there with troops, et cetera, and brought our boys out.
I absolutely feel that, yes. I don't think there's any question, and there's no question in my mind. I think right now would be an oil-rich nation, and I believe that we should have done it, and I'm very disappointed that we didn't do it, and I don't think anybody would have held us in abeyance. I don't think anybody would have been angry with us, and we had every right to do it at the time. I think we've lost the opportunity.
So that was 45 years ago, before the presidency, before the political career, before social media even existed. And Trump is saying the exact same thing about Iran that he's saying today. You don't get to call that a betrayal. You don't get to call that a flip. Trump has been on the record on this one issue for longer than most of the people screaming traitor have been alive. The betrayal narrative isn't about Trump changing. It's about his loudest critics not doing their homework, and when they get caught, instead of admitting it, they escalate to traitor. That is no principle. That is cope. Let's finish this out.
Now, here's why that's important. That's him in 1980 saying, the United States needs to earn the respect of the world, and there's nothing that anyone could do. We need to act like the leaders that we are, and we have the right to get our people back and set the tone. That's 1980. They say, well, okay. Do we see that reflected later on? Is it consistent with the Make America Great, America First values? Well, remember that famous escalator ride in 2015? That famous video, that famous image. Took that escalator down, and in that very first speech, reiterated his sentiments from 1980, from 2004, from 2011. You may not agree with him, but he's not a traitor. Here it is.
I will stop Iran from getting nuclear weapons, and we won't be using a man like Secretary Kerry that has absolutely no concept of negotiation, who's making a horrible and laughable deal, who's just being tapped along as they make weapons right now, and then goes into a bicycle race at 72 years old and falls and breaks his leg. I won't be doing that. And I promise I will never be in a bicycle race. That I can tell you.
Now,
so no nukes in Iran and no bicycle races.
Bicycles are gay.
Yeah.
He's kept both promises.
They look like a gay flock of seagulls in their spandex, availing their asses. Genuine question, and we'll take your chats. Wherever you line up, can you honestly sit there and say that Donald Trump is a traitor? Can you honestly say that his stance on Iran, and I know people will pull up some tweets where they'll say Donald Trump said that Barack Obama would attack Iran because he was saying that Barack Obama had no balls, and so ultimately, he wasn't able to handle negotiations. He was trying to say that he knew how to do the art of the. We have statement after. How far? We have very few people, by the way, on Earth, who we could point to and say has been that consistent on any issue. We're just fortunate that he was a public figure pre-social media, where we have his opinion on Iran in 1980. You want to impeach him, or you want to vote left, or stay home during midterms? Because you think it's that big of a betrayal? That really is the question, regardless of your stance on Iran. You voted for Trump. He's the same guy from that 1980 clip, same guy from the 2015 clip. You willing to throw everything else away?
So there you have it. Steven Crowder demolishing the Marxist right's entire betrayal narrative. And later in the same video, which I'll break down as well, Crowder goes even further. This time, he debunks the claim that Trump's strike on Iran was an illegal war. And when Dave Smith says that, I used to believe that, and it used to make me cringe. And Crowder dismantles that one too, because the reality is foreign policy authority sits with the president in the United States. Every president has done this. Obama did it, Bush did it, Clinton did it. The illegal war framing isn't a legal argument. It's a political one dressed up in constitutional language to sound serious and believable. Which brings me back to the pattern. Think about how many of the loudest voices screaming traitor and illegal war right now have flipped 3 times in the last 3 years. On Ukraine, on COVID, on Trump himself. They flip constantly, and then they accuse the one guy with a 45-year paper trail of being the inconsistent one. To me, that's ridiculous. It's funny how Dave Smith and Tucker will spend hours interrogating every other American foreign policy decision, but the moment you show them the 1980 tape, the conversation moves on. It's almost like they realized they were going to lose. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is this a betrayal, an illegal war, or did they just not do their homework? Subscribe if you're new. Keep thinking. This was Peacemaker.